Welcome back. Now, do you like blending into traffic? Do you like being obscure? Are you a normie? Then this car is perfect for you. Welcome to the Hyundai Santa Fe. Now it's a really hot day, and that's why I'm kind of leaning forward because the aircon doesn't work. By the 2001, the Hyundai Santa Fe was released. It did pretty well. The looks were a little funny looking, but it was a lot of car for the money, and that's why people bought them. The Mark II, personally, I think the styling was greatly improved, so was the interior quality. Around the turn of the century, in 1998, when Hyundai acquired a large proportion of Kia, they really started ramping up production. Hyundai was trying to get away from things like this. It was a relatively new company. It started in 1967, and its first export to the UK was in 1985. And their first cars were essentially rebadged Cortinas, Granadas. They didn't really start developing their own cars until the 80s. Oh, wow, that is a 356 Spider. Now, at the turn of the century, they really started ramping up R&D, putting more money into the company, refining their products. And I think this Santa Fe is exactly that era where they were midpoint between. There was still a lot of brand snobbery, and there still is probably to this day. However, their products were starting to rival the upmarket competition, and the price was still really, really low. So you were getting a lot of car for your money. Now, this Mark II came out in 2006. This one's a 2006, and my argument is that for £2,000, I actually got this for £1,800. For £2,000, you're not going to find more car for the money if you're looking at this segment. It came with a 2.2 litre diesel with 150 horsepower, or the 2.7 V6, which, in all honesty, is very thirsty. And it's not, due to the torque on the diesel, it's almost not worth getting the petrol. The only benefit, I guess, now is ULEZ compliance. The diesel is a Euro 3 car, 2006 version anyway. In 2009, they uprated the diesel to a Euro 4, but for ULEZ it doesn't even matter because you need to have a Euro 6. So if you're driving around London and you want something really, really cheap, that will be compliant, and maybe the 2.7 V6 is the one to go for. But just be prepared to spend quite a lot on fuel. Now, the diesel engine, this early 2.2, really nice engine, really smooth. It's a quiet engine for a diesel anyway. Servicing is not bad. This does run a cam belt, whereas the 2009 onwards runs a timing chain. So these do have to be replaced. Now, they don't have to be replaced regularly. It's every 10 years or 100,000 miles. But because of that long interval, not many have been changed. So you do find these with blown engines, as no one's ever changed the belt, and they've done, in this case, 15 years, and they can rack up high mileage, and the belts don't get done. So bear that in mind. Now, if you can stretch your budget to say £3,000 or £4,000, I recommend getting this with the uprated 2.2 diesel engine that came out in the later model year, just because power's increased. Not that this is underpowered, it's fine, but a tiny bit more power would still be appreciated. So the uprated one came with 190 horsepower. It was a 27% increase, and not only that, fuel efficiency went up. So in this, around town, 25 mpg, especially for the automatic. The petrol's the manual's a little bit better. And then on the motorway you can get good runs of 40 plus. So you got a power increase. It was more fuel efficient by a few mpg around town and extra urban. And it also reduced emissions, so your tax bill will be lower. So this came out at 190 grams, give or take, of CO2 per kilometer, and the updated version was 174. Now they did have other engines. They had believe it or not, a 1.5 four-cylinder petrol for China. They also had a 2-litre petrol for China. You didn't get those in Europe, and there was also, I believe, a larger V6 for the US market. Now the exterior styling of this, I think, is greatly improved from the first one, and I still think it looks fairly modern today, like 16 years on. It's quite impressive, to be honest. They didn't change much up until the Mark III, which was 2013. So it had a relatively long run. So you can see quite a lot of these around, and I think because of that, it still stayed relatively fresh. Also, the Mark III wasn't such a divergence from this in terms of looks. It's quite a generic, handsome look. It really doesn't it's not like eye-catching, but when you get into the detail, I think they've done some great little features. The rear light cluster is really nice. It almost has daytime running lights before daytime running lights were a thing, which I find really cool, because I believe Audi introduced that with the R8, and this has a similar light cluster right at the bottom, but it's only off one bulb, but the way it's refracted, it kind of looks like daytime runnings, and I love it. It's just side lights, but I think for 2006 they're ahead of the game. Now the interior, again, I think 2006, nice modern interior, and compared to the rivals and at the price point this was at, it was a much larger car, and it almost went into a different segment. It was competing against the VW Touaregs of the time, but for a fraction of the cost. It cost as much as a Nissan X-Trail, but you almost got Touareg quality and spec and size, and literally interior size. So they were really pushing quite hard. As I was saying, the interior is nice. The leather is okay. I mean, I'm not going to tell you it's like some sort of BMW Napa leather. It's fine. It's a bit plasticky. It's done okay over the years. See, under the armrest, you can still feel it's actually much more supple. But it's okay. It's not bad. They've got this lovely blue luminous interior from the dials and the clocks, so that's really nice. I actually do like driving it at night to see it all lit up. It's got this particular version has this fake wooden trim, which is very fake looking, but I kind of like it in a weird way. It's got some nice clocks. The dials are really nice. Again, with that blue luminous light behind it, it looks cool. Now, you got a lot of standard and optional features on this car, which are quite impressive for the time. Dual zone climate, heated seats. You could do all-wheel drive diff lock. By press of a button. How well that works, I don't know. We'll take it off road and find out though. There's an option, and on some of the higher models you could have adjustable lumbar and electric seat for the driver's side, automatic anti-glare mirror. So it's got loads of nice features. It's got cruise control. This one doesn't work, but it's got cruise control and volume controls on the steering wheel, which are handy. Plenty of storage room up front. You can get these with 6 CD changers, and then later on they added auxiliary and Bluetooth. So again, 2009, that's where you want to be. These also came with 6 airbags as standard, 4 up front, 2 in the rear, and that's standard. I think you could option another 2. Now, practicality wise, definitely has the biggest boot space in its class. With all the seats folded down, it's 2,200 litres, give or take. You could get this in a 7-seater, which doesn't impede on the boot space. You can flatten them all down, fully level boot floor, and you still get your 2,000 litres worth. Now, the rattles in this one, that's my one. I need to change some bushings, so otherwise it's really nice and quiet, and this is a really bumpy road, to be fair. Just as a comparison, the Nissan X-Trail with all the seats folded down was 1,700 litres. The Outlander, that was again just under 1,700 litres. So it shows you how much space they managed to extract out of this car, and it is slightly larger, but you're paying the same price, or roughly the same price. Now, to be perfectly honest, I'm not a big fan of big SUVs, and I'm definitely not a fan of crossovers. I don't understand the point of them. You could get a 5 Series Estate, that's probably not a great example, Volvo V70, a Mondeo Estate, almost exactly the same amount of interior room, better on fuel because you're not lugging so much weight around. This weighs near enough 2 tons. So the only benefit of getting one of these over an Estate, I feel, and the reason why I have one, is towing. The towing capacity of this with the diesel is 2.2, and then on the later models it's 2.5 tons. So that's the only real reason I can see it's worth getting an SUV over an Estate. Now, for some reason, everyone's just fallen in love with crossovers and SUVs, and the Mondeo man and the Estate have just disappeared. Mondeo, even though Ford have stopped producing the Mondeo, that's how bad it's got. So perplexed, but I guess people just like the higher ride height, and I guess there's a status thing to it in an SUV. I really don't understand, unless you really do need to tow. Now, how this drives around town, 25 mpg, not great, but with this auto, which it's a nice slick auto, sometimes it hesitates in certain areas, but overall great auto box. The manual, I hear, is a little bit sloppy, but you're going to get high mpg. I really wanted the auto because around town it's so much nicer to have an auto. This one, it does have a couple suspension knocks which I have to sort, but apart from that, the engine's really quiet, the cabin's really nicely insulated. I've got the windows down because it's scorching and the aircon doesn't work today, but it's a really nice drive. There's just enough power with this diesel, nice low down torque. On the motorway it is beautiful. It carries its weight. It is a bit of a momentum drive, but it cruises really quietly at 70 miles an hour. I mean, it's you can really kill a lot of miles with this. The seats are comfortable too. You do have that lumbar support. Nice caterham. You can adjust the steering wheel to how you please. It goes in, out, up and down. Yeah, I don't know the technical terms for that. Steering feels okay. It's a little numb, and you're not going to be doing any lap times in this. There is body roll. is compliant, but you pay with a lot of body roll. So taking it round corners quickly is brave. Okay, so should you buy one? Well, I think the first question you have to ask yourself is, do I need a 4x4 SUV, something this big? And I bet for the majority you don't, because something like a Mondeo Estate or a Volvo V70 of this era will probably cost you just as much. For a really nice example, it will be more fuel efficient, the practicality will be the same. The only times I feel like you should go for something like this is when 7 seats, fair enough, okay, and if you're towing. If those things aren't a priority, then an estate is probably a better choice. However, if you definitely feel like this is the right category for you, then I don't think there's a better option than this. An X-Trail's smaller, not as practical, the rear seats are terrible. The quality, I think on this is the transition point for Hyundai, and where they really started to go a bit more upmarket. I think modern Hyundais they're a premium product. I think the only thing letting them down now is they don't have the pedigree of the bigger brands, but in terms of quality, and I think their warranty and their reliability is something to go by. To be offering 7 years 7-year warranty is quite phenomenal. This is gonna eat motorway miles. It's so much car for the money. The parts are relatively cheap. I've just had to buy a bunch for its MOT, and they really aren't overpriced at all, and they have a great reliability record. So if you need something to tow and you need something to put all your junk in the trunk, this is a great option. Hope you enjoyed. See you again next time. Like and subscribe if you did. Take it easy.